The credits are rolling on Dishonored 2 Definitive Edition. No, wait, Limited Edition. I don't know what is limited about it. I'm a sucker for if there is a fake subtitle like Limited Edition or Definitive Edition, even though I never partake in the elements of the game that would be included as implied by such a label. In this particular case, there's a copy of Dishonored, the first game, included for free. I've already played that game, so that didn't matter. There's a digital Imperial Assassins pack, which again, I did not take advantage of. I essentially play the day one version of the game, but I'm still lulled in by this limited edition namesake. That's going to be kind of a running theme throughout this reactions review video. Oh yeah, by the way, this is Games Over, the review series where I talk about a game as the credits are rolling. I take no notes during my playthrough, the logic being that the things that I remember are likely the things worth talking about. So that's what I'm doing here. Yeah, that's going to be a running theme, me not taking advantage of the game as it's meant to be, or I guess better stated, me pretending to be the type of gamer that I'm actually not. See, Dishonored 2 is special in a way. I think a lot of games have shown me this thing that I'm about ready to tell you, but Dishonored 2 is sort of what really highlighted it for me and solidified it for me. This game reveals the type of gamer, the type of person maybe that I really am. I try to be a nice character. I really do. I try to be a white knight. I like being a white knight in most games. I like doing the right thing. This game tells me that I can do the right thing, but it makes it very difficult to do the right thing because killing is so much easier than sneaky stealthing. And the game wants you to sneaky stealth. I mean, you can get a more optimistic ending if you sneaky stealth. But killing people is just way easier. And it's a game that has a difficulty setting. Like, you can choose easy, normal, difficult, whatever, but really the difficulty of the game lies within how you play it. If you take the sneaky, stealthy approach, the game is going to be more difficult for you. If you take the stabby, throat-cutty approach, the game is pretty easy, actually. Incredibly easy. So it reveals to me that I'm the type of gamer who am very quick to compromise my white knight tendencies if the game is much easier for not doing that, which is, I guess, kind of sad to acknowledge, to accept, but that's who I am. The other kind of gamer that I thought I am, or at least I would like to pretend to be, is a gamer who really cares about lore. So in games like this, games like BioShock, there is a sense of environmental storytelling where you can go throughout the environment, you can uncover pieces of lore, you can read notes and just learn more about the world in sort of a passive way rather than having it overtly told to you through exposition or narration from the player character. So I always feel like that's important. I'm definitely a proponent for story-based games. I think that story is a very, very good accelerator toward... I guess it's a very good way to keep players invested and motivated to continue playing. Where mechanics may fail, story's there to help out. Or vice versa even, where story kind of fails, mechanics are there to help up. I think a perfect game has a balance of all of those elements. And lore is something that I thought I would really appreciate in a game, and I always think that I would really appreciate, and I start off with good intentions. I'll read the first few found notes in detail, and I'll start thinking about them out loud, and I'll say things like, oh, this character must be interested in this, so I got to keep an eye out for that character because I might be able to use this information I've received to my own advantage. But I never do. Every single time I read a piece of lore or open up a piece of lore, I immediately press the circle button to back out of it. But stupidly enough, I will still continue to seek out pieces of lore. If I see a little flashing icon on my screen or a little flashing asset, an outlined asset that indicates this is something you can interact with, I will sure as hell interact with it and open it up and then immediately close it. And I don't know if that's the sort of subtle completionist tendencies that I may have, and that I do still want to fill out my lore book or the table of all of the lore elements in the game. I want to fill that out as much as possible. But the truth is I don't end up doing that. I still only end up filling half of it. So I don't really know what that means as a gamer. But I learned that about myself, and I'm learning some of these things about myself. So overall, though, the game itself is pretty great. It's better than the first one in every conceivable way. And the first one is a really great game as well. It looks nicer. It still has the same quasi-futuristic aesthetic. I wouldn't call it steampunk, but it's probably closer to like a steampunk aesthetic than, say, a cyberpunk aesthetic, mixed with some supernatural, some magic, that sort of thing. Just grounded enough for me to really appreciate it. Or I guess it stays away from not being grounded for me to appreciate it, if that makes sense. I don't like a game that's full on magic and mystery and space, and I don't know, I'm conflating all of those things. Space and magic are not the same thing, but I don't like a game that ventures, I guess, too far out of the realm of conceivable possibility, so to speak. That's really weird to say, because one of my favorite games ever is Thomas Was Alone, which is a game where you play as a square and you jump on... Anyway, I'm an idiot. I guess I'm trying to very poorly go out of my way to sort of defend why I like this game when I shouldn't do that. This game is great. It's a fantastic game. It looks great. It has a really sort of sleek style to it. So there's a lots of sharpness to the character models, sharpness to the environments. Think if like everything is made out of blades. That kind of is almost how it feels. Now, it doesn't look that way, obviously. You're looking at screen capture right now, and it doesn't look that way, but it just kind of has that feel, and I don't really know how they did that. Arcane Studios, the studio behind Dishonored, and behind Prey. Prey actually has a lot of the same type of feel to it as well. They do something magical with that. I don't really know how they do it, but they just give it this really satisfying, sleek edge that I really appreciate. That aesthetic is really enhanced even more with some of the special abilities that you can have as this character, or in Dishonored that you can have. So one of the more applicable abilities in this context is what they call a far reach, I think it's called, or stealth reach or something like that. It's basically you can teleport from one area to another pretty much instantly, though there's still an animation that allows you to sort of feel like you're moving really quickly throughout space. And that, I think, really does highlight some of the edginess. I don't want to say edginess, that's the wrong word. It highlights some of that aesthetic that I'm talking about, because you get this sense of a quick, sort of sharp-edged simplicity that was really great. The thing that I don't really like about the Dishonored games is the story. It's pretty dumb. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It's definitely one of those stories that everything conveniently wraps up through the use of magic that can't be explained. You know, there's no science behind it. The world of Dishonored doesn't really adhere to a science that is recognizable to people, even though the world itself is very much, as I said earlier, sort of a steampunk vibe, which is a type of aesthetic that is recognizable to humans. You know, the sort of steam engine aesthetic is easy to comprehend because it's sort of an old world technology. This has that, but at the same time, there's everything relies on magic. It's basically, this is the way it is because of magic, especially as you get to the late term game. I got the sense they were really trying to wrap up the story in a convenient way, because they introduced some elements that you really hadn't been told about before, but that doesn't hurt the game at all. Honestly, it's still just a very fun game. It's a fun world to be in. It's also similar to Dishonored 1, very much a video game in the sense that it's very separated out by levels, despite the fact that it seems like an open world game. It seems like a game where you can do pretty much anything and go anywhere, but it's very much not. It's very much a linear game with stages and levels, which is great. It's fine. It's great. Again, I finished it and had a lot of fun with it. It is just sort of, I had to wrestle with that conflict in my head, that it seems like a game that wouldn't be that, but it is. But yeah, overall, I mean, the game's fantastic. I definitely recommend you get it. I think I bought mine used for less than $10, and it's absolutely worth that. I mean, it's worth full price even today. Like, it's just a really, really strong game. I am looking forward to what Arcane may be working on next. As of the recording of this, I don't think there's anything announced of what they're working on. Maybe another Prey game, although from what I understand, the Prey game didn't really sell that well. It'd be cool if they did go back to Dishonored. I'd be totally cool with that. So anyway, this has been Games Over. I hope you enjoy this kind of format. If you do, give this video a thumbs up, but if you're still listening to this video, then chances are you must have gotten something good out of it. So there you go. You should give it a thumbs up for that at least, and share it with a friend. Maybe there's a friend who's on the fence of whether or not they want to play Dishonored 2, and this video may be what gets them over the edge, because apparently they're not a good enough friend of yours to take your word for it, so give them the word of a stranger.